So they took a stand that's entire gimmick is about going fast, and they made you feel slow. Well, that's impressive. Welcome to today's video, where we're going to be talking about why I'm not a huge fan of the current state of Maiden Heaven. This stand used to be, well, overpowered. Let's just be honest. It wasn't fair, it was really annoying, and basically the only counterplay that you had to it was time stop, which, like, from a balance perspective, yeah, that probably ain't it. That being said, despite it being really annoying to deal with, it was also really fun to play, and it really fit the sort of niche of an extremely fast stand. Unfortunately, in its current state, well, it's just not quite there anymore. There are still plenty of good things about Maiden Heaven, and I don't think that it's a objectively bad stand. I would just say it's, well, sort of mediocre. And so hopefully today's video can cover why that is, and ideally ways that that can be remedied in the future. I think it's important to start in the most obvious of places, and that's why does Maiden Heaven feel slow now? And that's sort of a double-sided issue, with the first side of that problem being the reduction of overall speed when it comes to using time acceleration and double accel. They just made it so you go slower with these moves, as far as I understand, and obviously if you're just going slower, it's not going to feel quite as good to use. That being said, I don't think that these speed reductions are the real problem that really fucked with the way that this stand feels to play. No, that pretty obviously comes from the other issue, which is the fact that when you use moves now, no matter how fast you were going, it always sets you to the same static walking attack speed. This makes Maiden Heaven's speed moves not really feel like speed moves anymore. You're not even a little bit faster while attacking than anyone else. You are just as slow. It makes a move like time acceleration, something that for all intents and purposes is the quote-unquote ultimate move for Maiden Heaven, just feel bad. I don't know really any other way to play it, and anybody who's played Maiden Heaven since they've changed the way that it works is going to be able to attest to this. And then, as if it wasn't already enough that they'd kicked Maiden Heaven into its grave, they decided to drop a hand grenade in there by completely butchering the triple accel upgrade. They took this upgrade, and they made it so that way it increased your M1 speed, and went, actually it doesn't do that anymore. Which means that now all it does is increase your barrage speed and your stand barrage finisher speed. Obviously, stand barrage finisher is a very bad move, so having increased speed on this is basically negligible. Oh, 13 damage, where if someone might get lucky they could parry it, fantastic. I mean, the barrage damage is good, sure, it goes from doing around 45 damage a barrage to 75 damage a barrage, which is a lot of damage. That being said, you have to barrage first realistically to make good use of this, or hope that your opponent is an idiot, so, where's the practicality here? When it came down to it, I just stopped buying triple accel, because why would I? It's an upgrade that just isn't good. To be frank, it's barely an upgrade at all. I think all of these different factors basically combined to make Maiden Heaven not feel fast anymore. A lot of the time I feel like I'm moving through molasses, and the only thing that's continuing to make me feel like I'm moving quickly is the instant dashes from double accel, which obviously are really good. Honestly, they're probably the best part of the entire stand, and to be frank, I'm shocked that they didn't butcher these too, considering that they butchered the entire rest of the stand. Now, the problems with Maiden Heaven don't stop there, because just feeling slow is just sort of the tip of the iceberg. Let's move over to some of the questionable mechanics of some of these moves, and we're going to start with probably the elephant in the room, Speed Slice. This move used to be a free damage move with a shit ton of range that was basically impossible to miss if you were good. Now it has an absolutely pitiful range, and is still a pretty decent move, but I feel like it just needs a tiny bit more range. This is one of those things that I feel like they would have caught in playtesting, if there was any playtesting. Let's be real, there isn't. But regardless, if there was playtesting, they probably would have played and realized, wow, every time I use this move, I'm just barely out of the effective range. So maybe we should make it ever so slightly longer. I mean, they already did that once, and the original range before they extended it was even more pitiful, which is almost hard to believe. But generally speaking, in its current state, you either use it relatively close up to your opponent and they cancel it with any number of moves, or you use it further away and you're just a millimeter out of range and you end up right in front of your opponent and they punish you for it. I just don't understand. Like, the move only deals 17 damage and it has like 3 ticks of bleed. I don't even know why they bothered to keep the bleed on there if it's not gonna do anything. But regardless, it's not like this is doing a ton of damage. If it was just a free damage move, even if it was still in the state that it was in originally, with all of the other nerfs that the stand got, it would be pretty negligible at best if it did 17 damage and was borderline a guaranteed hit, but, well, it just isn't that. It's just kind of bad. And then the final move on the chopping block, well, we have to talk about Universe Reset. Universe Reset has had an interesting history on the game. And honestly, in its current state, it's just sort of misleading. So, on its own on paper, Time Acceleration is honestly a really, really good move. When you activate Time Acceleration, you get to use Time Acceleration for the full duration, and then when Time Acceleration ends, instead of just ending the Time Acceleration, you get put in a cutscene, and after the cutscene, the opponent loses a leg and takes true damage for a shorter period of time, and you get back 75 health. 75 health is a lot of HP. So this probably sounds really, really good, and in fairness, it is good. The issue is the global cooldown timer, or more specifically, the invisible global cooldown timer, and the fact that you don't get any choice on whether or not this move gets used, which basically means that if you do buy the upgrade, a lot of the time, you're just not allowed to use Time Acceleration unless you want to throw away a potential heal later. Just like with moves like Time Stop, this is supposed to be an ultimate move. It has like a 70-second cooldown. And as you can probably guess, the Universe Reset global cooldown is even longer than 70 seconds. Which means if you choose to use this when you haven't lost 75 or more HP, you're basically throwing that away, and the odds of you having it back later when you actually need it, very low. So what this really ends up coming down to is in most of my matches, I just didn't use Time Acceleration, you know, my ultimate move, because I couldn't have used it to heal myself. That fucking sucks. You know what would be way, way better? Do what this weird niche game, you know, TCA. Oh, that's a game where you push an actual button on your keyboard to activate Universe Reset. That way you can use Time Acceleration without automatically burning it every single time. Or, you know, we could remove this dumbass global cooldown that's really just intended to fuck over people in main game so that way they can't spam it, but in 1v1 serves practically no purpose. Or, you know, if you really don't want to do that, you could, I don't know, make the cooldown visible so I can see it and know how long I need to wait? Nah, invisible cooldowns. We love invisible cooldowns. Seriously, what the fuck? So, I've basically took a giant dump on this stand. Now it's only fair that I talk about what I would do to make it, well, less shitty to play. I'll open up by saying that I don't think that making it so while you have double XL active, you slow down while using attacks is a bad thing, and I think that's warranted because of the instant dashes, which are really strong. I also don't think that taking away triple XL's M1 speed increase and all of that stuff was a bad change. That being said, I do think that they should have moved all of these functions over to Time Acceleration. Because Time Acceleration is supposed to be this big ol' ultimate ability, and right now it just feels like a shittier version of Double XL, and that can't be right. So the first thing that I would do is move the Triple XL upgrade over to the Time Acceleration tree and make it so that way the old upgrades for Triple XL applied while you were in Time Acceleration if you bought the upgrade. And I would also make it so that way while you're in Time Acceleration, you don't get slowed down just like you used to when you were using both Time Acceleration and Double XL, while leaving Double XL mostly alone. Double XL in itself is already a good move, and I think just making Time Acceleration better is more reasonable than making a move that already lasts a long time, increases your move speed, and gives you instant dashes even better. It just doesn't need that. Speed Slice. I pretty much already talked about this, but Speed Slice's range is absolutely pitiful, and it could honest to God be swapped right back to the way it was. I don't know if they're gonna do that. I highly doubt it. They probably won't do anything on here, but regardless, if they're gonna make it, you know, a little bit better, that would go 800 miles. I would just revert it completely, but whatever. Heaven's Judgment. I didn't really talk about this, but the cooldown for this move is like 800 years, and I feel like it should be more in line with the rest of the moves. Maybe shave off like 6 or 7 seconds, because I don't know why the cooldown on this is so long. It's not like it's a really, really good move. Yeah, it deals 45 damage, which is quite good, but the ability to land it is pretty much exclusively relegated to hard punishes, and all increasing the cooldown really does is make it so that way sometimes when you get a hard punish, you can't use the move, and that feels like ass. And finally, Universe Reset. This one is so glaringly obvious. Just make it so that way you actually push a button to activate this and put it on its own separate cooldown. And just to be clear, a visible cooldown, not a magical invisible cooldown that nobody can see. A visible cooldown on my screen. When it comes down to it, in recent memory, I have probably seen 2 people playing Maiden Heaven, which probably sort of speaks for itself. But really, whether a bunch of people are playing it or not, the end-all be-all is that it just isn't fun to use anymore. It used to be fun to use, now it isn't, and I really think it needs help. Now, whether or not any of that help will come, that's up to the powers that be. I don't have any control over that. Anyways, if you've got anything that you have to say about Maiden Heaven, maybe you think that everything I said was wrong and you have way better solutions. Maybe you don't think there needs to be a solution at all. You can go ahead and put that in the comments below. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. Anyways, I am wrapping up here. So naturally, if you enjoyed the video, you can leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time. I forgot to buy my increased defense. Am I brain dead? Are you kidding me? I'm so stupid. How the fuck did that happen?